I tell women all the time, you are not setting yourself apart
Yeah.
to be a 10. What do you have to offer beyond that pretty package? So if I don't lead with the things that are very prevalent, I
Yeah.
naturally create a curiosity in a man to learn more.
Yeah.
Men are natural chasers and pursuers.
Yeah.
And so if I realize that she's not leading with her body, but I'm still intrigued enough to stay around,
Ooh. That's good.
then I'm creating a pursuit that may not naturally be there if I led with what I had to offer between my legs.
Welcome back to another episode of High Vibrations Only, the platform where we're all about inspiration, elevation, motivation. We want to make you feel good, make you feel like you could take on the world, because guess what, baby? You could take on the world. I'm so excited because today's guest, she's a lot of things. She's an author. She's a motivational speaker. She is a singer, artist, singer-songwriter, all of that. You know what I mean? She's a mom, proud mom. She's also an actress, and she is currently one of the cast members on Love and Marriage DC on the Oprah Winfrey Network. I am so excited to welcome to the show Simply Winter, y'all.
Hey, hey.
Wait, what is sound effect at?
We get sound effects?
Hold on. Oh, there it is.
That's the club joint. They do that after you rap every song in
Yes,
the club.
sir.
I'm with it.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, we were saying off mic that I wanted to have you on the show. It wasn't because of Love and Marriage DC. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because of the songs. You know, it wasn't because of the books, all 8 of them that you've written.
It's true.
It wasn't because of all of that, but it was because when we had you on the show Couch Party, which I produced for the American Urban Radio Network, which, by the way, she won, okay?
Whoop, whoop.
When we had you on, I was telling the vice president of media and brand communications, like, it's not often that, to me personally, that someone's energy really comes off through the screen. I was like, she's a light. She's a positive energy. I was like, based off of that alone, I would love to sit with her. You know what I mean? But then,
dope.
Being aware of Love and Marriage DC,
Yes.
and watched a lot of the episodes and everything, season 1, and then I was like, but wait a minute. Is it just me? Because the winter on that show and the person that I saw on Couch Party, like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, they're two different, like, what's up with that?
Are they two different people?
I feel like the energy is different.
It is.
You know what I mean?
But it's still a layer of my personality.
Okay.
So being quick-witted,
Yeah.
being, a little petty.
Yeah.
That's Winter. Those
Yeah.
are parts of me. Now, is
Yeah.
it the sum total of me? No.
Yeah.
But I love that I feel like at the end of the day, because we can't control editing. That's one
Yeah.
of the things that comes with unscripted television.
Yeah.
We cannot control editing. We cannot control production.
Yeah.
We cannot control storylines. So
Yeah.
we can't choose how we are presented to the world.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer that whatever is in you will ultimately come out. And
Yeah.
that's what will ultimately resonate with the audience.
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate to be a fan favorite for that reason.
Okay.
Because what's in me, people really do see.
Yeah.
And I'm very active on social media. I love engaging with people.
Yeah.
That, to my core, is who I am.
Okay.
I'm a social, extroverted
Yeah.
Southern belle.
Yeah.
And so I think that ability to really kind of pull people in, I don't create barriers. Yes, I'm on TV, but I'm still a normal person. I love sharing my life's experiences
Yeah.
and wisdom.
Yeah.
So that is what I believe people ultimately connect to.
Okay.
And it also buys me a little grace
Okay.
on the show
Okay.
when I'm petty provoked.
So you I was gonna say, like, do you think you're messy? Like,
Well, I like to say we all are messy at
Okay.
different points.
Okay.
Everyone can be accused of being messy.
Right.
I mean, every castmate has had a messy moment.
Right.
And we will definitely see that throughout season
Yeah.
2. Winter's taken a back seat this
Right.
season. My messiness is on hiatus. And so I am chilling and watching other people be messy this season. So yes, I believe in reality TV. Unfortunately, that comes with it. There's a
Yeah.
side of you that can be triggered in the messy department. That's
Right.
everyone.
Right.
But I think ultimately people have learned, and I love that we've evolved as a cast
Yeah.
where they're like, okay, Winter is not so bad.
but let me ask you this: why do you think you get so much, for lack of a better word, hate on the, like, especially for season 1. I was like, what's going on? Like, I mean, you had Ashley saying, I do not like your face. Like, what's up with that? Like,
yes, and I think we laugh about that to this day because that was such a ridiculous scene. You know, I hate your face. I hate your face. Like, it was like, what in the elementary school was happening here? Season 1 was very different. I was on an island by myself. Oh, wow. There was no backup. You have to think, this show is called Love and Marriage DC. Yeah. And so by default, every person or every woman per se on the show has a male counterpart, which is her husband. Yeah. So you got a built-in backup. Yeah. I did not come in with that built-in backup. I was going through a divorce. So it was Winter on an island by herself. Yeah. So if things popped off, listen, I got to handle it. It ain't nobody else that can handle it for me. Yeah. And this mouth handled it very well. I don't think I skipped a beat. But what was funny, because of that dynamic, by the end of the show, and everyone will agree to this, the audience became my backup. Yeah. So that is what shifted me into being the fan favorite, because to them, they felt like I was being ganged up on. And they were like,
attacked.
Yes, we cannot let her be ganged up on. She is by herself. So that actually worked for me. So did it suck? Yeah, but the audience got me through it. And, you know, we made it through the season 2 unscathed.
You know, it's funny to me. I remember that episode when you announced your emancipation. Yeah. We're going to get into that a little bit. And you had little boxes for everybody. I did. And then, what's the name says? They say, well, you got to put up the little thing if you got a question. Yes. She said, why is Winter here? I said, wait, that's how we going to start up.
You know, it's so funny because I had came to that particular, that was actually our bartending class. Yeah. I came to that class with the sole intention of reconciliation, which meant that Winter had to shut the hell up. Yeah. Because this mouth has a mind of its own sometimes. And if provoked, it can we can go real left real quick. Yeah. So I said, Winter, no matter what happens, no matter what is said, you hush and you give these invites out and stay the course. Yeah. Sherelle was beside me and she leaned over. She said, you are doing so good. I said, I am doing really good. Because let me tell you.
Because that's your friend. Y'all go way back. You and Sherelle.
We don't go way back. Oh, y'all don't go way back? We just met a year ago.
That's crazy.
I know her through her husband, who is a producer.
That's your producer.
Correct.
Right. But I'm saying before that episode, y'all was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, we were cool before that. Absolutely. Like, we had seriously begin to establish a friendship. Yeah. And so, she was like, you are doing really well right now. Because it was a lot of crazy stuff being said that I could have responded to. Yeah. But I was like, I'm not there anymore. I just want to get beyond all the BS. Yeah. And so I did very good. I was so proud of myself that scene.
I know.
I did really
so
well.
Cool.
I was cool. I was like, I'm here because everybody knows why I'm here. Right. The same reason why you here. We all on contract to be here. We didn't just show up.
We didn't just show up.
Yes.
And you said, well, since we're on the topic of, I got something for you guys that I need to, let me go ahead and pass this out. Yeah. But you know, there's something we always do on the show. You've done a lot, and we're going to continue the conversation. But yes. So go ahead, grab your little.
I get to grab my glass.
Yeah. This is. Let me come back on the mic. This is a toast to more life. Yes. More wealth.
Yes.
More health. Yes. Amen.
Amen.
Cheers.
Can't spend it if you ain't here to live it.
Hey, say that one more time.
Can't spend it if you ain't here to live it.
Listen.
That's really good.
And it is? Okay, because, I was saying off camera, I'm trying to, to stop the little libations. You know what I'm saying?
Moderation is good.
In over a month, actually.
That's congratulations.
And people that know me know it's no in between. I'm either
you in or you out.
We gonna
say less.
We gonna
100 and nothing.
We gonna leave that for
100 and nothing. I rock with it.
But it was interesting to me because I always wonder about this. Right. I think I was in college when reality TV really popped off. Like when it really became a thing that the industry was paying attention to. Yes. Never forget being in class, Professor Shannon, if she's watching, we were talking about it. And we were like, is this going to last? How long is this going to stay for? And we were like, what was so sexy about it was that it was reality, but then we were like, wait a minute. They got cameras. It's a production. How much of it is actually real? and how much of it is scripted? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask, if you're allowed to speak on that. How much of it is real and how much of it is scripted?
Honestly, it's the number one question I get about the show all the time.
Yeah.
So for me, and I can only speak for myself, what you see from Winter is what you get.
Okay.
Which is why I can own how I show up.
Yeah.
Because when they say, are you really that petty? Are you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, given the right circumstances, situation, that is absolutely 1000% Winter.
Yeah.
I don't fabricate a thing.
Okay.
I chose to show up authentically me and authentically presenting whatever situation I was going through.
Yeah.
So what you guys saw me go through season 1 was really happening in real life.
Oh, wow.
So I don't fabricate. Now, there are people who do create storylines and make up, you know, how they want to be presented and shown. And that's their business and their prerogative. And I'm not going to knock them, but Winter, what you see is what you get.
Right.
And I believe that is the best way to impact people from being on reality TV.
Yeah.
I don't think you can impact people with a lie. You impact people with the truth.
Yeah.
And it's my truth. And so I don't have a reason to defend anything because I'm showing up authentically me. Now, I might have to clarify because I can't control editing or how things are presented. But, you know, I think I've been very fortunate. I love reality TV.
You do?
I do. I don't want to be in it forever. I really don't. That's not the goal. I have so many other goals and aspirations, but for the time that I've been in it, I've enjoyed my time, and I think it's helped me evolve as a media personality, as an actress, as an artist, as a woman, and it's helped me like own who I am more unapologetically than I think I've ever been able to do as a woman.
So, you know, I'm curious. I don't know if you get asked this a lot, but your journey of getting on the show. Like, can you share that with us?
So what's interesting is that I did not audition for this show.
Okay.
So Monique, who I've known, you know, we knew each other for quite some time.
Yeah.
And so she actually was reaching out to various couples to see if they were interested.
Yeah.
My ex-husband and I at the time both knew them in separate worlds.
Got it.
So they reached out and said, hey, would you guys be interested?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, we'll see. So we did an initial casting tape.
Yeah.
And literally, because of all the BS that was discovered shortly thereafter, I called her and said, hey, pull us out. You know, we're going to pass on the opportunity. We got some things going on. I'll catch you up at a later time. Because I was still sorting through it myself. Fast forward, this was like 2021. I didn't think anything else of it. December of 2021, they announced that the show was moving forward. So I literally called her and congratulated her. Hey, I'll be watching the show, rooting for you guys. January of 2022 rolls around, so that's the new year. Melody from Love and Marriage Huntsville was supposed to do their pilot. And she was going to be the speaker. She got sick. And Monique couldn't cancel. So she called me. She says, listen, I know you're a motivational speaker. You're the only one I know that can jump in right quick, and you live close to the venue. She was like, can you do it? It's being filmed, by the way. I said, no worries. I got you. So literally, I showed up to do that one scene. I was supposed to do a one and done. And the executive producer and one of the execs for the production company were on set that night. And they liked what they saw. And they pulled me to the side and said, hey, can you film again in a few days?
Oh, man. Have you told the story before?
Once with Carlos, because he backed it up. He said, that is absolutely how it went down.
I like exclusive.
I'm sorry. It wasn't. Carlos got the exclusive.
It's one time.
Yes.
That you told the story.
I only told the story once.
Okay. I can live with that.
Yeah.
You
know? So no one knew that Melody Holt was supposed to be there. So I was Melody's replacement for her sickness. Thank God she got sick, because we would not be here. Thank God that sickness came right on time. She's well, so we can say thank God.
She's well. I was about to say she's well now. She's doing good.
It all worked out for everybody's good. So I think, so it's been different for me. I didn't plan to be here, but I think I've done the best at maximizing the opportunity of being on the show.
Speaking of ex-husbands, you know what I mean? And books.
Yes.
Divorced in the City.
Woo!
You know.
Talk about it.
Hey, wait a minute. I saw when you got in the studio, you said, I'm free, I'm emancipated. And then I said, wait a minute, emancipation, romance, and emancipation. I get it. And then you sign my papers.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that journey and that experience for you, because I thought it was interesting. I was watching the episode where he actually came in. And you know, and Quick and Ashley stood up and there you were like, you lying and everything, that you didn't embezzle money from your company, all of that stuff.
Yes.
Let's talk about what that journey has been for you,
Yes.
being married and being divorced. And, perhaps, in your own words, I'm not sure if this is something that you share very often, as far as lessons that you've learned from that experience, even moving forward for you.
Yes. So that would have been a second time for me. So I tell people all the time, no one gets married with the intention of getting divorced.
Yeah.
And so when you say I do, you think I'm done.
Yeah.
And so being a year into that situation, realizing that this was not going to go where I thought it was going to go. Also, having been through divorce before, I understand what is and isn't going to work. I also know how to fight for a marriage. I was married to my children's father for 15 years. So I know what it is to stay if it's worth it to fight for it. This was not worth the fight, and I knew that. So I knew as soon as I found out the information, it was time to make a move.
Yeah.
It was just how I was going to go about that, what that looked like. It was very chaotic because there were so many people that were impacted by the situation.
Yeah.
So I was really navigating people that were devastated by the reality of, this not being something viable.
Yeah.
I was at the height of my masterclass teaching and my coaching. And so I had a whole group of women who were inspired and impacted by this union that were now having to be kind of blindsided by the fact that this wasn't going to go the distance. It was hard. Therapy. I don't think people talk about how, as strong women, we don't often get a pass for taking a break or taking a hiatus when things are just too much.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. I was juggling a lot.
Yeah.
And so for me, I knew I needed to take a pause.
Yeah.
I call it a holy pause.
Yeah.
Some pauses are holy and necessary. And so I needed to honor myself and my healing journey. So I hired a therapist, was seeing her every single week, sometimes twice a week. And that just gave me the space to really be a woman. I think sometimes we show up as women too hard and we kind of overshadow our naturally soft side for the sake of trying to keep things together. I still had to take care of my 4 kids. I still had to show up to work. I still had to show up on camera. And so I believe there's a scene where I do get very vulnerable and you see me kind of like, it's been a lot, Mo. I'm telling Monique, listen, I don't think y'all get it. In the midst of arguing with y'all, I've also been navigating real life, and it's been very difficult. So that was a very real depiction of what I was going through behind closed doors. But being willing to sit down and do the work, it enabled me to come out on the other side whole. So the lightness that I feel like people see are because I really did the work. And so now I feel like I'm coasting, but the lessons I've learned is because I was raised very churched. And so I tell people all the time, listen, we are taught that if they ain't marrying you in 6 months, then they don't want you for real.
Wait a minute, y'all hear
6 months or less.
Fellas, y'all hear that? 6
I
months.
am serious. There's a whole culture that teaches and preaches this narrative.
6 months though.
Quicker than Domino's pizza. That's literally how people feel. 30 minutes or less. He ain't got a ring on it. Move on to the next one.
Oh, man.
It's crazy. And so this experience actually caused me to really reflect and reassess my own belief system. And I had to divorce a lot of the narratives and beliefs that I had held true for so long and that I was actually teaching other women. So it actually gave me a new purpose because now I'm on a mission to unteach and help women unlearn some of the very principles that I taught now that have been filtered through real life experience and I realized was not the best knowledge to have to make the best decision about selecting this person in the first place. So it's taught me to slow down. I'm very intentional. I do enjoy dating, but I don't feel the rush anymore, not even at my age. I don't. I feel like the person will come at the right time and love was never meant to be rushed in the first place. And if it's meant to be, time won't make a difference.
Hold on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, that was good. That was good. It was
so
good.
This is what I do. I've been in motivational speaking and coaching for years.
Wow.
That's actually like what I love. I love to teach.
Yeah.
I'm not a teacher. I would not want to be a teacher. God bless them. My youngest sister is a teacher.
Yeah.
But I love to teach women how to be their best selves.
Oh man. Speaking of 6 months, right? As far as like, how long do you think is reasonable? You know what I mean? Giving everything that you've been through, how long do you think before a dude should pop the question? How long do you think dating? How long do you be? You know what I'm saying?
So I honestly believe that there is no time limit because it's really case specific.
Yeah.
I think if you're younger, it's going to take longer.
Yeah.
If you're older, it may not take as long. Yeah. I'm pretty sure and clear and, I'm sure of what I want and who I am and where I want to go and whether or not a person is going to be an asset or a liability.
Yeah.
I have a 90-day discovery phase. I don't go in disclosing that information because you might get offloaded before that 90 days is up. Okay. But within 90 days, I feel like it is a good enough gauge for me to determine whether or not there is a future there for me to try to discover whether or not, we want to be exclusive, whether or not we want to go to the next step. Yeah. I have no time limit. Ideally, I feel like we should know within a year whether or not we want to be engaged and pursue marriage.
Okay.
But if it takes longer, it's okay.
So within those 90 days, what is Simply Winter looking for?
Red flags.
Okay.
Purple flags.
Wait a minute.
Unicorn flags.
Hold on, the purple flags.
I need to know because I think we put so much emphasis on red flags, but I tell people all the time, it's those little foxes. It's those little foxes. It's not always the things that are glaring.
Yeah.
Red is a very bold color.
Yeah.
You don't always see periwinkle. But a flag is a flag.
Hey.
And I need to determine whether or not I can live with your little flags and your red flags.
Yeah.
And so I look for everything.
Okay.
I need to know that, I can live with your quirks.
Okay.
I can live with your trauma.
Okay.
I can live with the trauma you haven't healed because the reality is that we are not complete until we are no longer breathing. We are always a work in progress.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the concept of finished. I believe in the concept of improvement. Evolution.
Okay.
Are you choosing to grow?
Okay.
Because you can actually choose to not grow and you can choose to be stagnant.
Yeah.
You can choose to be comfortable with your pain and your trauma.
Yeah.
I need to be okay with whatever parts of you you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I believe those things begin to kind of reveal themselves. People wear masks for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And so I believe over the 90 days, I'm starting to see your little quirks. You're starting to get more comfortable with me. So I know what is and isn't kind of your core belief system.
Yeah.
And you have to pay attention. So I take a lot of things off the table. I don't typically sleep with the man within 90 days or at all. I've gone that route as well.
Yeah.
Actually, the marriage that only lasted a year, we were abstinent the entire time.
Oh, wow.
We didn't kiss until we got engaged.
That's crazy.
Now, I will be honest and say I overlooked a periwinkle flag.
Yeah.
Because they were there.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't so blatant, I felt like, this is not so bad.
Yeah.
But I've learned that you really got to pay attention to those. So, I try to take those things off the table so I'm sober. When we talk about being sober, you gave up
I did,
you gave up libation.
About a month now, roughly. Yeah.
For a month.
Yeah.
If you actually pay attention to when you drink and when you don't drink, you have a more there's more clarity of mind.
Yeah.
That's why we preach soberness, right?
Yeah.
That's why we preach be sober when you drive,
Yeah.
be sober when you make decisions.
Yeah.
Well, be sober when you date.
Yes.
And I tell people to date deep.
Ooh, date deep.
Date deep.
What do I mean?
Deep dive.
Yeah.
Ask those questions that matter.
Okay.
Early enough
Okay.
so that you're not wasting your time. I think a lot of people get frustrated and bitter over dating because they feel like they wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well, if you dated deeper sooner,
Yeah.
you would waste a lot less time.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to ask questions that matter to me down the road. I'm going to ask them now.
Okay.
Because I don't need to waste your time. If I already know up front you don't want to have any more kids and I desire them,
Right.
then we just need to be friends.
So like, what does your ideal man, if you have that, what does it look like for somebody watching? Like, what are you looking for?
See, I tread lightly because I have discussed this before. I used to moonlight as a relationship expert in my former days.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to be careful about sharing your wants and desires because I said, if I say I want a, tall, dark, and handsome man, right? A man might show up in stilts.
Yeah.
And got long pants on. I don't know.
But within those 90 days, you're going to figure out.
I'm going to figure out whether or not it's a peg down there, if it's really your leg. I want to know.
Yeah.
But I try to tread lightly. But what I will say, I'll give some core things.
Yeah.
I need a man that is accountable.
Okay, accountability.
Not just to himself, but to a core of men that he absolutely respects.
Yeah.
And that can call him out on his BS.
Okay.
It is not enough for a man to be just accountable to himself.
Yeah.
Because that shows willingness to learn,
Yeah.
to evolve, and to also yield to maybe constructive criticism that I may have to offer.
Yeah.
But a man's willingness to be, quote unquote, submissive to another man says a lot about his ability to lead me. And so accountability is huge.
Yeah.
Responsibility. Are you willing to be responsible?
Yeah.
Not just for me, but for yourself and for the things that you are called to lead and have charge over.
Okay.
Communication.
Yeah.
I am not going to perform oral surgery on your thoughts and your words and the things that you feel very deeply about.
Okay.
And so you have to be able to communicate. So good communicator is huge. And I have to be able to have a humorous person.
Okay.
I'm a funny person.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
I think I'm funny.
Yeah.
And I crack great jokes. I crack great jokes. I need you to laugh. And it needs to be organic. I need to say some stuff that, I mean, don't nobody else get but me and you, but we are crying laughing.
Right.
I love to have a good time. I am very youthful by nature.
Yeah.
A lot of that comes from my humor.
Yes.
And so I find the humor in anything.
Yeah.
I cannot be laughing and you sitting here with a straight face.
Like,
I've had men tell me I play too much, and maybe I do. But I like to have a good time. Maybe I do.
But that's a good thing. You play too much. That's a good thing.
But it's fun, right?
It's fun, yeah.
So I think it keeps me young. So
Okay.
those are 4 core things I could say: accountability, responsibility, communication, and humor.
Yeah, okay. That's what's up.
Oh,
Now-
and you cannot be dumb as a box of rocks. So intelligence matters.
Okay.
I ain't gonna be able to do it.
Right.
The math need the math.
The math needs a map. Now, you said something so key about deep dive or deep date, actually, and asking questions. And I wonder, like, to people who are dating right now, young women who are dating, whatever, you know what I'm saying? What would you, because somebody said, don't ask questions like, what's your favorite color? What type of music you like? What type of questions? Maybe give us like 3, maybe, or, 2, whatever, that, like, category of questions, or give us an idea of what type of questions to ask to get to know somebody on a deeper level.
Would you date you? And why?
Okay.
I think that is the biggest mistake we make as people in general.
Yeah.
We don't know ourselves well enough to really communicate to another person how we can be an asset to them.
Yeah.
And so, would you date you?
Yeah.
Why or why not? And it's funny, this came up at my romancipation.
Yeah.
One of my friends who's a sex therapist, she actually posed that as well. Like, would you date yourself?
Yeah.
Do you know your flaws? I asked somebody this recently.
Okay.
I ain't gonna call him out.
That's not what we're not gonna do.
We
that.
don't call him out.
We're not gonna do that.
But I asked him,
Yeah.
what are your strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
He said, I ain't got no weaknesses.
Was that a red flag or a purple flag?
That was all the flags.
Okay.
You don't have any weaknesses.
Yeah.
We are humans. We
Right.
are naturally flawed.
Yeah.
Every last one of us has
Yeah.
them. I like to speak to my strengths. I said, okay. Say less. Say less.
Oh,
you
man.
just told me by saying, I don't have any weaknesses, that
Yeah.
you have no accountability.
Yeah.
You are not self-aware,
Yeah.
and you don't have a willingness to grow.
Yeah.
Say less. I cannot evolve and grow with a person who thinks that they have no weaknesses.
Yeah.
Because I believe a part of dating, I say this often too, dating is much like hiring for a job that you have open.
Yeah.
The smartest leader or CEO who hires, or the smartest HR manager,
Yeah.
understands how to staff their weaknesses.
Yeah.
So as a person who's dating, I'm looking for someone that staffs my weaknesses.
Yeah.
We need to be able to balance each other out. I need
Yeah.
to find someone that's strong where I'm weak.
Yeah.
And if I don't know what my weaknesses are,
Yeah.
then how can I tell you how you're going to be of assistance to me?
Yeah.
So I just think that's something that we don't always consider.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you date you? And why? That's
Yeah.
a great question to ask.
Yeah.
And honestly, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Okay.
Because I believe we also make the grave mistake of dating for our now. We don't date for our next. And I need to make sure that the person I choose now is suitable for where I'm going next.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of men make this mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see a lot of men who unfortunately cheat on their day ones.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's because they necessarily want to. I believe it's because when they get to their next, they encounter a woman that's more suitable for their next.
Wow.
And so a lot of men are unfortunately married to a person that no longer suits them because they only chose where they were looking at. Yeah. And so I try to teach both men and women to really see beyond where they see. Yeah. You got to have depth perception. I love football. Fun fact about Winter. Yeah. And so my sons play football. Their dad played in the NFL. So I don't love it because of that. I really love the sport. Yeah. And so when we talk about calling plays, some of the best quarterbacks are the ones that have depth perception. They can really see the field. They can see the play before the play is made. Yeah. Do you have depth perception when you're dating? Yeah. Can you see down the road? So where do you see yourself? I tell women to ask men. Ask him where he sees yourself. And if you were to, for whatever reason, marry him and become his wife, where does he see your relationship going? Yeah. How would he lead your relationship into the next phase of life? Yeah. Does he have a plan? Is he a man with a plan? Yeah. Now, I don't believe in men who have plans that have a lot of talk. See, there's a lot of men that have vision, but all they do is lip service. What's the plan? Yeah. Can you execute the plan if I don't come into play? Wow. Wow. These are the things we don't consider that matter, and that so good. Really are the demise of a lot of marriages. I've been married before, so I can tell you. Yeah. Marriage is hard.
You know, it's crazy because do you think that is it possible to grow apart? Is people say that? I'm like, how do you grow apart? Like, is that something? Is that
you can definitely grow apart if you are not intentional about growing together. Okay. It is also possible to grow apart when you married someone you weren't in alignment with anyway. Flowers grow in the direction of the sun. If the sun moves to the east or to the west, the flowers naturally point to that direction. Yeah. Because flowers are in alignment with their light source. Yeah. Are you in alignment is your partner your light source? Are you in alignment? Are you naturally growing in the direction that they're going? Yeah. And a lot of times if we dug deeper early enough, we will find that we picked the wrong people because they're not ever going to grow in the direction because their paths are different. Yeah. And I don't believe that you can really force paths. Yeah. I believe that we're all on a journey and we're not always going to be on the same journey, but you got to be able to go in the same direction. And we don't ask those questions soon enough. So,
you know, you spoke of being married for 15 years. Yes. I've always wondered, like, how do you get married for so long? Yeah. But it's still, because, you know, I was talking to a lady not too long ago. I said, she said she was married for about 10 years. I said, well, wait a minute. How you was married 10 years? And she said, I knew at some point in time, but it's like, so it's almost like there's that stage where but between knowing and actually leaving could take forever for some women. You know what I mean? And I've always wondered, how do you get married for 15 years and it still didn't work out?
Great question. My situation is very specific. So we married very young. We got married at 19. We were kids. Yeah. Kids. Yeah. Young, dumb, and in love. Yeah. And, we had our first child at 20. So life was lifing. He was still in school playing football. I was a stay-at-home mom taking care of the kids. And then we transitioned into the NFL. I don't believe we were very well prepared for the new life we were walking into. There's a lot of temptation. There's a lot of access. Yeah. And we're still kids. We're still kids ourselves, raising kids at that. Yeah. So there was just a lot that was going on. So we divorced because of infidelity. And I tell people all the time, for me personally, I left 8 years later than I should have because at the time I made the conscious decision to stay because we had 4 children and I wanted to keep my family together. But it was on, the understanding that it was a one-time, affair. It would never happen again. And I believe that. And I was willing to work through that. We were in couples therapy, family therapy, like all the things to really support the family structure to stay intact. But the cheating never stopped. Yeah. And so for me, it was just like, either I can stay here and keep up this facade of unhappiness because I was absolutely miserable. Yeah. I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
It was impacting my health. And for me, it became a life or death decision.
Yeah.
I got critically ill about 6 months before I made the decision to walk away.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for 2 weeks on my deathbed, making arrangements. I didn't know whether or not I would walk out that hospital.
Yeah.
My mom had pretty much moved in full time to help my ex-husband with the kids. Like, it was a really bad situation.
Yeah.
And I understood at that moment that I had to choose me. It wasn't about choosing being a mom. It wasn't about choosing being a wife. It wasn't about choosing the lifestyle I was accustomed to, because let's be clear, I was very comfortable.
Yeah.
It was about choosing me.
Yeah.
And I made a decision that if I made it out of that hospital alive, that was a promise I made to God. If you get me out of here, not only will I walk the process of forgiveness, because that was critical to me being able to move forward in a healthy way, that I would walk the process of choosing me. And if that meant I had to crawl before I could walk and walk before I could run, that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Wow.
And I'm better for it.
That's
like, my
amazing.
life is incredible now. I don't regret a thing.
Man, you know, I keep listening to you talking. It's just like so many things keep popping in my head. Like, you know what I mean? Another thing you talked about was, you kind of alluded to this, the strong Black woman.
Yes.
/ I would also add this into the independent woman.
Yes.
Now, is that, you know, it used to be the strong Black woman was somewhat of a positive term to use.
Yes.
Where do you think we're at right now with that term? Is that something to, you know, the pros and the cons of the strong Black, how should we approach that? You know what I mean?
I believe there's a strength we will always possess as Black women.
Okay.
I don't subscribe to the independent woman concept.
Why is that? Okay.
Because it has literally created a generation of women who are mentally ill. We are suffering in our mental health because of the strong Black independent woman mindset.
Yeah.
We are struggling. There is a unprecedented amount of women who are dealing with depression.
Yeah.
Anxiety, not just regular anxiety, performance anxiety.
Yeah.
Because we have to show up in rooms to prove that not only are we better than our male counterparts as women, we have to show up better than our non-Black counterparts. We are, you know, and for lack of better words, trying to doubly prove that we are good enough.
Yeah.
And that has impacted our mental health in a way that we deal with anxiety at unprecedented rates. Depression, it's just crazy. And I believe that narrative, and we adopted that belief system because, listen, I'm a single lady, I'm strong, you know, I'm a survivor, and that's great, we are, but we're still women. And women were not created to be as hard as men. That's reality. That's not saying that we're not competent and capable, but that's just not how we were created. And so we are seeing the impact of that mentality now. And so this is where you see the conversation of mental health be so prevalent, because we realize we have created an epidemic of mentally ill Black women who are tired of carrying the weight of the world on our shoulder. I believe that we were created to be interdependent. Where if we need to be independent, if we have to, we will handle it. But we have the capacity to welcome help.
Okay. So how do we fix that? Because hearing you talk, I hear two things, right?
Yes.
There is what's the problem that society has created.
Yes.
That's always been there. There's also the other side of it, which is what women have created. So how do we begin the process of fixing that?
I believe we've begun the process.
Okay.
The conversation of mental health being so prevalent, that's the conversation starter. Now it's going to take a collective effort amongst women like myself who have a platform and have a voice and have an audience to continue to reiterate the message that it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to have help. It is okay to be interdependent. It is okay to want love. It is okay to want the companion of a man. It's okay to want the companion of a partner, whatever that looks like for you. I believe that just making that a prevalent conversation and having the representation that we need to model that, because we need the examples, right, of what that looks like. I pray that I model that. I like to reference, I grew up in church, my parents were pastors, and we talk often about the Proverbs 31 woman. And I said, you know, we tout this like it's a badge of honor to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And she had all these businesses and she was an asset to her husband. And she was this, that, and the third. Can we also point out the fact that that woman had maid servants?
I need to go read that again.
She had help.
Yeah.
And so I believe we've left out the context of being okay with having help.
Yeah.
Hire that virtual assistant, girl.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people on my team that do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Winter is able to be her best because of that team. And I welcome those volunteers and those help.
Yeah.
Or that help, because it's helped me be better.
Yeah.
So just being able to be a representation and an example of what it looks like to be a healthy Black woman who is conscious, aware, who loves her community, who wants to be impactful in her community and uplift and inspire other women and men, but also being okay with taking a vacation and saying I need help and saying that I cannot be all things to all people, and being okay with saying, no, I can't do that. That's not in my, wheelhouse. I can turn some things down. I think that's the way that we change the narrative.
Amen.
And I think we've begun to hear conversations about the soft life.
The soft life,
right?
Yeah.
What does it look like? I don't know that I naturally agree with the whole soft life concept, because I think it also preaches a level of laziness. And I believe to be a woman of excellence and a woman of impact, you have to have some level of work ethic. I mean, it requires you to show up, so you can't be lazy. But being soft, embracing that femininity, because God knows I love being a woman, which is why I wore a skirt today.
Yeah, you look great. You look great. We were just saying we love the color. Everybody was saying off camera.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That is me. I'm a Southern belle to my core, but I love being a woman and I embrace my femininity. So I believe that the soft movement is giving women permission to just go back to their roots of being a woman and being okay with what that looks like, and not feeling like we have to tone that softness down to be a boss. We can incorporate it all. And I consider myself a soft boss. I will absolutely show up and handle my business. I'm a businesswoman. But I like being soft, and I believe my femininity works for me, not against me.
Amen. You said something. You talked about being abstinent in your second situation,
Agreed.
second marriage. You think in today's world that that is it's possible to before marriage and be abstinent? Is that
very possible? Okay, because I've done it before. And I've practiced it for a number of years.
Do you think it's easier for women than it is for?
Depends on the woman. Because I coach a lot of women, and especially coming out of the relationship space, I know that unfortunately, depending on a woman's past, whether or not there's trauma, there's sexual trauma, there's sexual experience, hypersexualization is a real thing. Those women are going to be more open to having more fluid sexual experiences. Therefore, their need for sex is going to be higher. Whereas for me, I was raised very sheltered, and I was raised to reserve that space for a certain relationship and the covenant of marriage, right? So for me, I can go very long periods without having sex. It's not as hard for me to say, hey, I can take that off the table and be good. Am I like that all the time? No, because I'm also very cognizant of being a 40-plus-year-old woman. And we do understand that as we get older in age, that our sex drive goes up. Funny little thing that nature plays on us. So
I didn't know that. I just learned something new. Okay.
So a man's sex drive is high when he's younger.
Okay.
A woman's sex drive kicks in when she hits 40.
Man, did you know that? Okay, see, learn something new.
Education. Yes, that's a true story. So we kind of hit and miss each other when it comes to sex drives. So this is where you find a lot of women dating younger around my age because they're getting the men that meet their sex drives. And so I find now having to be like, I gotta think things through these days, because your girl is out here single and ready to mingle. But that's more so standard and practice and self-control. And I am not an advocate for just being so free with my sexuality, because I'm a person that totally believes in that bond and connection, not just being for anyone. No judgment, because I definitely meet women who view very differently than I do. But I do feel like it's preserved how I show up. I do feel like I've seen the benefits of being abstinent.
I was about to say that, because I was going to say, talk about, in your opinion, and from experience, like some of the benefits. You know what I mean? Because I think for me, one thing for sure is that especially for men, because we're very visual. Like, if I'm able to say, okay, when you take away the pretty face and the nice body, personally, it helps me ask myself this question: what else does she got going on? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, in your opinion, what would you say are some of the benefits of
a man absolutely being able to see my substance?
Okay.
And so I'm able to lead with the things that I do have to offer when I'm not offering my body.
Yeah.
And for men who are very visual, it's not hard to get caught up in beauty, but beauty is very prevalent.
Yeah.
I tell women all the time, you are not setting yourself apart to be a 10.
Ooh. Ooh.
There's 1,001 10s.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay.
What do you have to offer beyond that pretty package?
Hey. Yes, sir. I had to do that. Wow.
So if I don't lead with the things that are very prevalent, I naturally create a curiosity in a man to learn more.
Yeah.
Men are natural chasers and pursuers. Yeah. And so if I realize that she's not leading with her body, but I'm still intrigued enough to stay around.
Ooh. That's good.
Then I'm creating a pursuit that may not naturally be there if I led with what I had to offer between my legs.
Yeah.
And so I just find that it works for me to kind of weed out a man's natural intentions. Let's just be clear. Because people let us say, I want a man that, wants me for my mind. Sis, he don't see your mind first. So if you show up looking like a dust mop and he's turned off, that's your fault.
Hey.
Shame on you.
Hey, yes.
A man at the core of who he is still a man.
Yes.
And they see with their eyes.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to speak to those things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying negate that because you're abstinent. And I have to teach that in my purity classes. Like, fam, your hoop skirt ain't winning him over, sis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And if he's acting like, oh, that's all he wants, is a, crystal clean, like, men are still men. He still wants his sexuality appealed to at some point. So you still got to be able to represent and show up in those spaces. But I just don't recommend leading with it because, again, those men who just want what's between your legs are a dime a dozen as well. You're looking for a man that wants substance. Yeah. So I teach women to lead with substance, and I try to be an example of that, of leading with substance. There are very few men on this planet that can say that they have been with this.
Oh, man,
it is a privilege.
And let me tell you something. That's a great transition point because we're going to talk about the music.
Let's talk about it.
We're going to talk about this single that's out.
Yeah.
Ghetto Barbie.
Gutter.
My bad. Gutter. We were talking about offline. Yeah. Gutter. Gutter Barbie. Yeah.
Barbie. Would you like a definition?
Yeah, because what was interesting to me, we were talking about the flip. Because on the show... Mm-hmm. That's the term that you use to describe. You called Ashley
and Arena.
You call them
gutter Barbies. I did.
But somehow we flipped that into a positive.
Well,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, the original definition was pretty women who aim low.
Okay.
And then we made amends.
Yes.
I was in a more positive space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this has a ring to it.
Yeah.
How can we make this positive? And so when I went in the studio with Black, I said, listen, I got this concept.
Yeah.
I think we can flip Gutter Barbies and make this a positive song. What you got for me?
Yeah.
I said, I am in a space where I'm single, ready to mingle.
Yeah.
I am authentically owning my womanhood. I've kind of come out of my shell because I was very, very conservative and really very kind of sheltered as an adult.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I was free. I really, really wasn't. Yeah. And I am in a very free place, not free to just wild out, but really just free to be me and whatever that looks like. Yeah. And so I said, this is where I am. I want this song to reflect that. Yeah. And so essentially I call Gutter Barbies my retake on being a lady in the street and a freak in the sheets. Yeah. And what does that look like when I'm out in the club having a good time? I see somebody I like and I'm like, hey, I can be your Barbie if you want me to, but I can also be a little gutter if you need me to as well. I can be whatever you need me to be.
Yeah,
we on this dance floor.
Is that all right if we
run the tape?
A little something? We got something right here. Is it queued up? I think it's queued up. Let's go ahead and see what this is. Yeah, because I was bopping it in the car earlier on. You know what I'm saying?
It's a bop.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, we'll go ahead and turn that up a little bit. Hey.
Tell the DJ club, we're here. I brought my girls, we came to party. Where's the throne? Please set me there. Until the music makes my body go up, up, up. Ooh, I can't control it. Even if I could, I wouldn't want to. You're so hot, hot, hot.
Hey, hold on. We're going to stop that right there because I don't want you two coming for us. But here's something. Y'all going to have to go listen to the whole song, all right?
Yes.
But here's something that I thought was interesting, you know, and I had to, because when I listen to songs, I pay attention to lyrics.
Yes.
All right? Here's one that stood out for me. We're going to talk about it right quick. It says, I hope you notice me, notice you. Mm-hmm. So let me make it obvious, because I don't want him missing what I'm giving, because it got to be gave. And I don't want to behave. Now we're gonna dive into
Watch
that a little
out there
bit.
now.
It's because, so I'm picturing this at the club, just like you said.
Say
you
less.
see a dude that you like. You like what you see.
I like what I see.
You telling me that you gonna walk up and say, "What's up?"
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Are you okay with? Because it's women that say, you know, the dude always gotta step up to me. That the women that said the lady should never. You don't feel that way.
Okay. I have had this conversation so many times.
Yeah.
I don't think women understand how much pressure men are often under to approach a woman they really are into.
Yeah.
And I think we have made it way too hard.
Yeah.
If you are mutually interested, you are not pursuing him to show interest.
Yeah.
That's not a pursuit.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know I'm interested back.
Yeah.
And sometimes men, because of the Me Too movement, we got to tread lightly.
Yeah.
It is helpful for you to kind of lead and give him the cue so he know it's okay to pursue.
Yeah.
And so I am of the, you know, hey, if I notice you noticing me, and I'm noticing you back, let me help you out. Yeah, let me go ahead and make it do what it do.
I like that.
Yes, I honestly, in my position now from being on TV, you know, there are people who view me as a celebrity.
Yeah.
So for that can be a little bit intimidating, and I understand that. So it's very helpful in those situations, especially if I'm feeling a guy back to kind of, you know, flirt back and make it known that I'm okay with him, like, you know, shooting his shot, because otherwise most men, they really won't. They're a little bit nervous and they don't know how I may respond. So I try to aid in that.
Yeah.
I'm working on my flirting skills.
Okay.
I'm a natural flirt, but not an intentional flirt.
Ooh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So what's the difference?
Okay, a natural flirt is a person who flirts and they don't even know they flirt.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
I think it's the Southern Belle in me.
I was about to say, is that really flirting? Because we were having this conversation. I said, you know what I'm saying? Like me personally, I'm a people person.
Me too.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I'm just being licious. I'm not flirting per se. So maybe that's
the problem.
You know what I mean?
That's the problem.
Right.
Then you're like me. And because of that natural friendliness, and I'm a lady.
Yeah.
So I'm batting my eyes, I'm kikiing, I'm giggling.
Yeah.
And men like, okay. I mean, go and shoot my shot then. Yeah. I wasn't trying to flirt. Yeah. I don't like you like that. Yeah. I find myself having to, on the back end, be like, I was just being nice. I wasn't. So that's why I say I'm a natural flirt, not an intentional flirt.
Intention is you got something in mind. You know
that
what I mean?
part. Okay. Where I really am feeling someone. Yeah. I don't really be knowing what to do all the time. Yeah. Like, how do I? Yeah. So I find myself having to coach myself through it. I'm getting better. I feel like I'm improving. Okay. But a lot of that just has to come with being forward and communicating. Like, hey, I'm feeling you. I had that situation happen to me recently.
Oh, wow.
I met a guy. Yeah. And we met in a very platonic situation. Yeah. He liked me off the bat. I thought he was attractive, but things were a little complicated. So I didn't naturally just flirt. I didn't do it at all. All these months later, I had to basically communicate like, hey, I was actually interested and am interested. I just didn't really know how to, have that conversation. Yeah. He was like, oh, well, why didn't you say something? And I was like, I sort of kind of did. Right. but I don't think you got it.
Right,
you know,
right.
it wasn't very intentional.
Yeah. So let me make it obvious.
Let me make it
Just
obvious.
As the song says.
Exactly. Let me take my own lyrics to heart.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Because I don't want you missing
Yeah.
what I'm giving. Because I'm trying to give it.
You know, talk about because, you know, sign my papers, you know.
Yeah.
I love that joint too. You know what I mean? And obviously, I don't want to assume that everybody knows the inspiration behind that. Do you think that's common knowledge?
No.
Okay, let's talk about that.
No, it's probably not common knowledge.
Okay.
So yeah, if you watch episode 9 of season 1 of Love
Yeah.
and Marriage DC,
On OWN, by the way.
yes, on
Okay.
OWN TV.
Yes.
Shout out to OWN, my
Yep.
own family.
Yep.
If you watch that episode, you will see me confront my soon-to-be ex-husband at that time for the first time. I don't think the audience realizes that this is the first time I have laid eyes on this man in about almost a year.
Yeah.
I literally have had no communication, like face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
And so this was like a monumental thing.
Yeah.
First time we've ever seen each other on the show. First time I've seen him in about a year.
Yeah.
And I am livid.
Yeah.
I am livid. I don't want to see him. I am annoyed by his presence. But listen, if we going to hash it out, we going to hash it out. And people don't realize at this point he is withholding signing my request for a divorce.
Yeah.
So since you in the building, why don't you sign my
Why don't you
papers?
go ahead and sign it.
Well, he brought the papers with him. That's what blew me, which is what prompted me singing. So I see the paper. Ashley, shout out to Ashley,
Yeah.
is standing right beside me. So it's Monique and I sitting down. Monique, Ashley standing up, and it's me. We
Yeah.
look on the floor. There's a pile of paperwork. So I'm using my foot to
Yeah.
go through the papers,
Yeah.
and I see our paperwork that he need to sign is on the floor.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, since we here, anybody got a pen in the place?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get these papers signed. So I just started humming.
Yeah.
I felt that song in my spirit. It
Yeah.
just felt like an old, a hymn just
Yeah.
hit my soul. People
Yeah.
don't know that was made up on the fly.
Oh, wow.
And Sign My Papers was
That's dope.
born. But,
That's
I was
dope.
raised in a church. So quite naturally, that's the melody
I
that
hear
it came out
Yeah,
with.
I hear that.
And yeah, I just started singing.
Man, listen, I saw you perform at the Wizards game.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Were you
sang,
there?
You sang the night. No, I saw it online.
Okay.
wasn't
I was
there.
like, were you there?
I saw my girl Brittany was in the back though. Yeah. Me and Brittany go way back.
Nice.
She was producing the show over at Radio 1 on Kiss. But man, it was, and you sang that thing a cappella though.
Only way to do it.
You gotta have some major pipes to be able to do that. You know what I mean? That's not, you don't just do that. So I say that to say kudos to you. You gotta give props where it's due.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? But how does one get that call?
Well, Britt
Okay.
actually was the plug for me
Okay.
doing that particular segment.
Yeah.
And reached out to my publicist and
Yeah.
said, hey, we got a slot if she's interested.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's go.
Shout out to Britt.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Britt. She's
Yeah.
such a doll.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing. Music is not an option.
Okay.
I don't think people realize that. It's not an option when you're singing the national anthem for these NBA games.
Yeah.
You are expected to go out there and sing it
Yeah.
a cappella.
Yeah.
And the national anthem is not an easy song
No,
to
it's not.
sing.
It's not.
I don't think people realize that either. However, the reason why I made the decision to do it, because that's a lot of pressure. There's 10,000 plus people in that audience. And
Yeah.
for that particular segment, it was spring break.
Yeah.
So it was more full, I think, than it would have ever been on any other night. I
Yeah.
remember getting down on the court and thinking, oh, the stadium's empty. We're
Yeah.
good. I ain't got to worry. I did my sound check. Ain't nobody in these stands. I got this. I'm
Yeah.
singing to me in empty seats.
Yeah.
And then by the time, the clock started, it was full.
Yeah.
And I could just, all these sea of people, it was bananas.
Yeah.
And I made a decision to do it because being a reality TV star, people judge us very harshly when it comes to being a recording artist.
Okay.
Because they say, okay, here is another reality TV star just wanting to do music, and
Yeah.
can she even sing for
Yeah.
real? I believed that it was the best way to silence any doubters on whether or not I had the ability to sing.
Okay.
no better way to do that than the national anthem. And at that point, it's either sink or swim.
Yeah.
I remember, if you actually go back and watch it, it's on my Instagram page. I actually take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I am so nervous.
I saw that.
I am shaking.
Yeah.
And I was just like, pause, breathe.
Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah.
Don't forget the words.
Yeah.
And I went blank, honestly.
Yeah.
So that breath was to remind myself and just really kind of get in my zone. And I remember towards the end, my publicist and one of my best friends was in the audience in front of me. She was standing courtside. And I remember just getting to the end. You could kind of see me pat on my leg because I'm counting myself down to the end. She was literally screaming when I rapped. She was like, girl, you sang the heck out that song. I'm like, I got it done. But if you watch, you see Britt in the background.
I saw Britt
she
in the back.
is like, I see her face because she doesn't know what to expect either. Like, I done vouched for this girl. I hope she can sing this song. And I see her face like, okay, girl can sing. But at the end, you know, she's clapping and cheering as well by the time I rap it. But I felt such a sense of accomplishment. But my publicist said to me, he said, listen here. If you had anybody that was on the fence, you definitely silenced them tonight.
Shout out to Morris, the publicist.
Yes.
That's my dude.
Yeah,
cool
he's a
dude.
great guy. He's definitely Team Winter, and I'm grateful for him.
Yeah.
He definitely advocates for me. And it's always great to have a good team that want to push you and see you excel and be your best. And so we are working in these streets. Let me tell you.
I see you working.
We are working.
You know, like, I'm just curious, man. They say sex sells, right? When it comes to the music. And it's a kind of tough spot for me because on one hand, we talk about the fact that society is over-sexualizing women and all of that stuff. But on the flip side of that conversation, you have women, it's like, you know, it's like every song is all about, you know, busting it open and different things. Like, and it's hard for me because it's like, how do you approach that for you and me? What do you think about that? Where it's like, you know, we're saying, you know, why women are always objectified, but you see women actually doing the same thing. And it's almost like every song that comes out now, it's got to be in some way, shape, or form that.
Yes.
How do you...
So it's interesting. I went to an industry event just last night and encountered a rep from a label. Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, you sing R&B. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm not wearing a badge. Like, sign right how do you know? He said, you very classy. Oh, wow. He said, you know it. Yeah. He said, it's a look. Yeah. And I said, thank you for that. Yeah. Because I am from the 90s. I grew up listening to 90s R&B, but essentially the reason why that music is still relevant to this day is because it was based off of life experiences. Yeah. Even when it included sex. Yeah. It still was about an experience. Yeah. And so for me, when you think about Sign My Papers, that was birthed out of an experience. Yeah. Gutter Barbies was really where I was as a woman. It was my experience. Yeah. Even the tracks that I'm working on now, I'll give you an exclusive. Yes. The next track is called, you actually got the first exclusive. No one has ever.
Amen. Okay? All right.
So the next track that you'll actually see on the show is called New Love. Ooh. That was based off of a real experience. Oh, wow. And every lyric is wrapped around real like thoughts and feelings and what I'm really walking real time. The next song I actually wrote, I'm working on, I won't give you the actual title, but it's something like It's Me Season. That's where I am right now.
We want to talk about seasons,
Yes, it is really life. That is R&B. That's what makes it soulful because it's really hitting that core of who we are and that human experience. And so I can't relate to being hypersexualized or over-sexualized if I wanted to. I wasn't raised that way. That would actually be inauthentic for me. Right. Everyone on my cast will tell you this girl is very green. Yeah. I am. I've never been to a strip club. Oh, wow. And inadvertently went into my first one, not intentionally, because I didn't know the place had changed into a strip club. I walked in like, what in the absolute? Let me get my behind out of here. I thought it was a cabaret.
It wasn't a stadium, was it?
It wasn't stadium. It was sex. Nobody had told me what the situation was. I went to celebrate a friend's birthday. Oh, and he said, hey, here's the address. We're at Saks. No worries, I'm going to pull up. I come, my classy attire. Clothes on. I'm fully clothed, by the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's dollars all over the floor. I was like, I'm sorry. Just want to make sure I'm in the right place. This ain't what it used to be. I'm like, what? I'm leaving.
Oh, wow.
So that was my first introduction, but I didn't intentionally choose. I'd never been, and I don't have a desire to go. My cast is very liberated in the sex discussion.
Yeah.
I'm very conservative.
Yeah.
Not that I'm afraid to talk about sex. I'm a grown woman, but that is not my life.
Yeah.
It's not my experience. So I cannot relate. And to sell that would not be authentically me.
Yeah.
Can I sell you heartbreak and pain and love and being in love? Yes, because that is something that is very much me. And that's what I'm selling in my music.
Is this society, or is it who is to, I don't want to say who's to be blamed, or if we want to begin the process of, I don't want to say fixing it, but when we address these issues, because hip hop 50, coming up, but it's one thing that a lot of people always talked about, the way hip hop, treats, looks at women, portrays women, all that good stuff. But it's like, is this society? Because on one hand, it's almost like everything you see is like really sexualized, every commercial. And then on the flip side of that, you have women who are really they're really doing that. And so for me, it's almost like, well, we're complaining about society, but y'all in on it too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who is to be, I guess you could say, blame? How do we, when it comes to that whole issue, is that even a problem?
We have to understand and accept that the generations after us, and I'm going to say after us, they're very different.
Yeah.
These kids were raised by iPads.
Yeah. Yeah.
In computers, and the internet.
Yeah.
Their ability to be just more free in general is definitely different than the generation we grew up in, where certain things were still not okay. It was very taboo to talk about having threesomes. These people celebrate it these days. I think what it's really going to take is that generation saying, hey, we want to be recognized or known for something different.
Okay.
It's very different to change the temperature of a culture who is accepted that this is what they want their culture to be. I talk to, my daughter's in this generation. She's 21 years old. She's a lot more liberal than I am. We have discussions all the time. That is their mindset, though. Their generation is very much be who you are, be as free as you want to be, have as many experiences as you want. They don't see anything wrong with it. In fact, we're viewed as the people that need to evolve and get with the program, right? So until they say enough is enough, we're going to have to learn how to either continue to set the example, or try to adjust in the best way that we know how. Because again, there is a disconnect in our ability to reach that generation as well. And so we have to figure out how to be more collaborative in a way that kind of distances the generation or the world as a whole from that level of promiscuity, because it really is just an acceptance, I feel like, of promiscuity and the hypersexualization.
I don't have a dog in the fight, to be honest with you. The challenge for me is, if a dude approaches you and out the gate, he's like, do you want to have sex? You're like, wait a minute, hold up.
What am I, a piece of meat?
Right, you know what I'm saying? But then every time I watch your music and everything, that's what you're projecting. That's what you're serving.
Absolutely.
You've not given me anything else. So it's almost like, why are you mad at me? Because one thing is, don't be hypocritical. That's my whole thing.
True.
Like, don't tell me, well, why would you? I'm sorry, but what else have you giving me? Which is my challenge. It's like, when you look at certain artists, we're not going to name names because we don't do it on this podcast, but it's certain people.
What's their name?
You know what I mean? That is almost like, I was Hot 97 because I had the opportunity of working on that, and a certain artist comes to stage and she's singing. Some of y'all know who I'm talking about. She might come for me, but that's all right. I can take the smoke. And then she turns around and flashes our whole situation. You know what I'm saying? This is online, on YouTube. You could Instagram somewhere. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. if I approach you, and it's almost like you have people who are okay with that persona, like leading with that as a brand, which is fine. If do you, be you unapologetically, but don't be mad if that's all that somebody takes you to be. Because you say, that's not all I am, but just show me that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So to me, that's where...
responsibility.
Yeah.
I talked about this earlier, being willing to be responsible and accountable to what we present.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's the disconnect in that as well, right? Yeah. We are very aware of the lack of leadership in the Black community. Yeah. And that starts with our men, the lack of fathers and the lack of representation. Yeah. It's going to take a collective effort. I don't like blaming because blaming isn't going to solve. Yeah. Accusing is not going to solve. Yeah. How do we as a community collectively address these issues? Yeah. How do we collectively as a community change the narrative? Yeah. How do we collectively as a community start to teach our sons that they can make it outside of sports? See, I have boys. Yeah. And we made it a rule in our house that if their grades slipped, they would come off a football team. Wow. We didn't care enough about them going to the pros to say, oh, well, you can have an F or you can have a D or you can have a C. Yeah. Because I know your capability. Yeah. Our boys are very smart, actually very good at math. Yeah. So if you bring me a C, it's unacceptable. Yeah. And guess what? If you don't bring that C up, you ain't playing football next season. Tell your teammates you'll see them in the spring. Yeah. We were dead serious about that. Yeah. But when you raise men to believe that they are the sum total of their physical ability, then I don't have the desire to strive for much else. Yeah. I don't have the desire to want to be in a math club or engineering club or, learning about architecture or real estate. These are the things that we have to collectively change. I don't raise my boys, even as an unmarried woman, because I'm not single, their dad is present and active. Yeah. So I say as an unmarried woman, I'm not raising my boys to get to the league so they can take care of me. See, we don't talk about that disconnect in the Black community where we have a whole generation of single moms who have raised their boys to be responsible for them. As a woman, as a mom, as an adult, my goal is to leave a legacy. We don't understand how backwards we are. So until we focus on changing that backwardness, we're going to continue to see the same issues that we see. This is a collective and collaborative issue. And I mean, I'm personally committed to changing it. I'm personally committed to being active in my community. I'm working with Covenant House on transitional programs for 18 to 24-year-olds because that's a pivotal and critical age to really capture young adults to really change their future and their narratives. I'm a mom, so I have a vested interest to change the narrative of the future that I see being presented to my children and my children's children. So I really believe we have to be the change that we want to see. Absolutely.
Amen. Let's talk about the books. You got all 8 of them.
All 8 of them.
I mean, golly.
With a 9th on the way. Get that good slurp in.
Yeah. I want to talk about, the obedience exchange.
Yes.
Access and favor through the currency of obedience.
Absolutely.
Now, by the way, y'all, she's written 8 books. 8. All right. Let that settle. You gonna let it marinate. All right, in your spirit. But what I mean, I saw Divorced in the City. We kind of touched on that too. Divorced in the City. We touched on that a little bit. The whole idea behind the inspiration behind that was that from the whole experience for you, or was
that was actually Divorced in the City I wrote back in 2016. So that was really just my dating diary from coming out of being married for 15 years because life had changed. Yeah. We had things like Tinder that had been born in the time that I was married. Yeah. So would you go on a dating app? No. No.
Good, you said 10,000.
No. Let me tell you, Divorce in the City needs to be a sitcom. Yeah. That's my goal. I want to pitch it as a sitcom.
Let's make it happen.
Because if you read the chapters, so this is what happened. I didn't want to be sued for telling my experiences with these ninjas. Yeah. So what I did was started naming them and giving them nicknames, which I'm very good at doing, by the way. Yeah. So the chapters became these nicknames. Yeah. So chapter 1, I believe, is called Tinder. Yeah. One is called Army of Lies. Yeah. One is called Cabbage Patch Kid. A chapter is called Tylenol PM because he put me to sleep. Most boringest date I'd ever been on in my entire life.
Oh my God.
I mean, terrible. Terrible.
Oh man.
So Divorce in the City was literally a compilation of my lessons that I learned by dating.
Yeah.
And just the notes that I would take as I would come home and jot down about these crazy dates that I was going on.
Yeah.
So I call myself an inspired writer.
Yeah.
I'm a writer by nature. I've always written since I was little.
Yeah.
And so I love to write. This is why I have so many books.
Yeah.
And I actually have a new one coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it. But it's an affirmation cookbook. So I'm a
Okay.
Southern Belle, love to
Do
cook.
we got a title? Can we announce or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's called The Single Housewife.
Oh, the single.
The
Okay, is that an
single-
exclusive too? Or?
That's an exclusive.
Okay, cool. We
The-
got two exclusive. All right, that's good. That's good. I like that. I like that.
The Single Housewife Affirmation Cookbook.
Okay.
And so it is a cookbook that is infused with affirmations,
Yeah.
Life lessons and etiquette tips that I've learned over my course and journey of being a
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
So yes, and some of my favorite recipes I share in this
You like
book.
sweet potato pie?
I make an amazing.
I love sweet potato. That's my thing.
You gotta have mine.
Yeah. Okay.
I make non-pecan lovers lovers of my
Yeah.
pecan pie.
Yeah.
I make a honey bun cake.
Ooh.
It tastes just like a honey bun.
Oh man.
I make my greens are solicited far and wide.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Southern cook.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a very good smothered turkey.
Oh golly.
Yes.
Oh man.
My
Wait a
fried
minute.
chicken is good.
See now you.
Yeah.
We getting low.
I cook.
We hungry right now. You.
I cook. That's why I'm a lot healthier these days. I don't cook like I used to, but when it comes to like Thanksgiving and Christmas, I throws down. Like I'm in the kitchen for days. That's how I grew up and how my grandmother and my mother taught me. So I am in the kitchen. I cook. I make chicken spaghetti.
Yes, Lord.
Mexican chicken.
Amen. Amen.
You know,
Yeah,
smothered
I love it.
pot
I love it.
roast
I
and
love
all
it.
the things.
I love it.
Homemade gravy,
Yeah.
biscuit and gravy. I do all the things.
I mean, I know where I'm going for Thanksgiving. I'll tell you right now.
You can slide on through.
I'll tell you right now. Listen.
So I cook.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I know where I'm going for Thanksgiving. I'm
You're
just
more
letting
than
you know right
welcome.
now.
You're more
But
than
we want to
welcome.
talk about the obedience exchange.
Let's talk about it.
You know, you talked about favor through obedience. Like, what is that like? Like, what is? Let's talk about that. How do we access favor through obedience, and how important is it when obedience is concerned? We talking about obedience to God, to
Yes.
in different ways.
So people don't know this. I'm actually an ordained minister.
Wait a minute. Is this common knowledge?
No, but it
Okay.
should be.
Okay.
Season 1, if you watch season 1, we talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So yes, I'm an ordained minister.
Yeah.
My parents were pastors.
Now, wait a minute. Are you preaching? Like, you know.
So before I got on Love and Marriage DC
Yeah.
season 1, I was on a whole revival tour preaching.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So frequently,
Yeah.
if you look at my social media, there are people who comment and will say, Minister Winter, we're
Yeah.
so proud of you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
And so people don't know. I really was
Wow.
a licensed and ordained minister. And so I don't preach, that's not a hat I wear anymore, but I still get booked to speak.
Yeah.
I have taught literally master classes from all over the world.
Yeah.
I have taught thousands of people. So there are people who know me in that space. So I wrote the Obedience Exchange during that period of my life.
Yeah.
And what I found was that the more obedient I was to the things that I knew that God was calling me to do, the more favor I began to obtain.
Amen.
And so I said, obedience is like the stock market.
Yeah.
There's an exchange that happens
Yeah.
in the spirit realm, so to
Yeah.
speak, that when we obey, we gain and access favor. And so I've just learned that leading an obedient life yielded a favorable life.
Amen. Okay.
And so I tell people all the time, Sherelle will testify to this. She was like, Winter, I believe that I have a lot of favor on my life.
Yeah.
But you, my friend,
Yeah.
have a crazy amount. Like she was like, she always says your favor is unmatched.
Yeah.
It's really, really true. And I don't say that to brag or to, puff myself up, because I don't take credit. I'm a believer first. I tell people that all the time, even though I'm not in, the Christian space, so to speak, anymore. My faith is still my core.
Yeah.
And I'm still very much, in relationship with God. None of that has changed. And it is my barometer.
Yeah.
And so because of that, there are things that I will never do.
Yeah.
I can say that with ease. There are things I turn down all the time because it's in contradiction to my faith. And I'm firm on that. I won't compromise for $1. I won't sell my soul for it. I don't want to be rich that bad. I don't want to be famous that bad. And so at the end of the day, I believe my faith is a part of my legacy. But I've seen, because of my commitment to that, I believe that God has rewarded that through favor and just opportunities. And I get a lot of opportunities. Y'all, I was a friend of the show who's now main cast. I shouldn't have been. It was supposed to be a one and done. That's favor. And I tell people all the time, because I got a lot of pushback in the faith-based community about even doing a reality show. And I often say, do you think I put myself here? Because I didn't audition to be here. It's an opportunity that I feel like God granted me. And it's opened the door to so much other stuff that now everybody's quiet, because it's like, well, dang, you know, maybe she was on to something.
Man, I could talk to you forever, man. But you know, we got to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up. But, you know,
that means you got to have me back.
Yeah, for sure. Part 2. But Hip Hop 50, man, you know, I want to ask you some questions about you know, do you love hip hop, first of all?
I listen to it.
Okay.
Every now and then.
Okay. What would you say was your first introduction to hip hop?
First introduction to hip hop, man. I got to go back to, goodness, the Ice Cubes. Okay. You know, like the Snoop Dogs. Yeah. That's my intro to hip hop.
So, like, was that at, like, someone played it at the house, or
a
concert? How did you encounter it?
I grew up in a sanctified household. We couldn't listen to that stuff.
It's the devil's music.
I'm trying to tell you. Listen here. You bring that stuff in my dad's house, he would crush that tape with his feet. We had cassette tapes. Y'all know nothing about rewinding cassette tapes. I used to try to record the radio so I wouldn't be lost on what was going on in the real world. Shout out to K97 in Memphis. So
Tennessee.
Yes, I used to listen to K97, and that was my introduction to hip hop. And so when a lot of those artists were coming, you know, out on the scene, I would sneak and listen to K97, and you would get those intros, and I would try to stay up late and watch MTV. Y'all remember MTV when they would have like the VH1, they would have the premiere of the videos, and that was my introduction to hip hop. I've never been to a hip hop concert ever.
Never bought a tape? Did you ever buy a tape?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Wow.
Never.
You have a favorite rapper, maybe?
I don't have a favorite. I like all the old school.
Old school, okay.
I do. I mean, I love 50 Cent.
Yeah.
I do love Ice Cube.
Okay.
Is it NWA? I felt yes.
NWA,
Crisscross.
Yeah.
That I listened to in school.
Okay.
And I, you know, would do my overalls, you know, backwards or whatever, the one hanging.
Yeah.
That was my introduction. But you know, y'all, growing up in a sanctified household, I can talk all day about the Clark sisters.
Yeah.
My knowledge of hip hop is very small, but the influence is big.
Yes.
And so I believe that those tracks, that's what I love about R&B and hip hop of our generation. And I'll say our, I ain't that old, but still. It was like a soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I can like pinpoint certain periods of my life to certain songs and things I was going through. And that's what I love about hip hop. It's much different now. The things my sons listen to, I'm like, what is that?
What is that? Yeah.
What is that?
Well, listen, man, we want to say huge thanks to you.
Thank you for having me.
Coming on the platform, man. Like I said,
this was fun.
I could talk to you forever, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like you answering the question and you hear something else. I'm like, oh, that's good. We gotta explore that. You know what I mean? I love organic conversations,
Me
man.
too.
But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
When is there a date for the new season? Idea maybe? No, not yet.
We don't know
it's
yet,
coming.
But it's coming.
So be on the lookout for sure. Be on the lookout
it's coming
for sure.
soon.
Yeah. Is there anything you have coming up that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The 5th Romancipation is going down August 26th in
26th.
DC.
Okay.
And it is an all VIP, all black affair.
Okay.
So if you are not a VIP, you will not be in the building.
Oh man.
But if you are a VIP, you're going to have a good old time.
How does one become VIP?
Buy your ticket.
Okay, buy a ticket. VIP ticket.
Yeah, but you must have a ticket to enter. The experience we are creating this time is top notch.
Yeah.
And we have some special celebrity guests that are actually flying in to be a part of this experience. And you will honestly get to hear quite a bit of a snippet of my EP that is coming out later this year.
Plug your website.
Simplywinter.com.
Check it out for all things, man. Simply, Because at first time I was like, that's not her. Her first name is not Simply, and her last name is not. You know what I mean? Why you say Simply Winter?
You know, I've been asked this because I was asked, why do you call yourself Simply Winter? As a woman who has been married twice, my last name has always been somebody else's last name since I was 19 years old. It does not make sense to go back to my maiden name because I'm so far removed from that. Yeah. But in this season where I've learned to grow and evolve and own my authentic self, Winter is enough. Yeah. I figured that's what it was. Winter is enough.
I was like, let me not assume, because at one point I saw Winter Harris and then Williams, and then I was like, but then it's now, I said, okay, that's probably why you said, you know what? Let's not overcomplicate it.
No.
Let's keep it simple.
Simply Winter.
I just wanted to be sure.
Absolutely.
I figured that's what it was.
And I am enough.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
When I hear that announced, I'm like, let's go out and do that. You handle your business.
See, I said let's wrap up, but we still really. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show, man. Listen, keep it locked in. We're coming back. We need to bring her back. You know what I mean? Maybe have her do like a little cooking, like you know what I'm saying?
I'm with it.
Something like that. We got to make it happen. We got to make it happen. But thank you guys so much. We will see you guys on the next episode of High Vibrations Only, where we're all about inspiration, motivation, and elevation. See y'all soon.